is working. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's working.
Okay. So thank you everyone to have me. Today I'm talk about the Pluto system. It's kind of a story. Is a work with Doug Hamilton of the University of Maryland and also Otto Winter from São Paulo State University at Brazil. So here's a family portrait. So we'll talk about today mainly about the small satellites of Pluto, Styx, Nix, Kerberos, and Hydra, and also about Charon is the biggest satellite, but kind of some people let's say like it's a binary system, so it's a satellite is a really important one. There's a family portrait, is a picture, is a composition from with images with all the 4 small satellites in Charon from 2015. The moons were all discovered by the Hubble Space Telescope. And here I have better images, of course, nowadays because of New Horizons mission, and we have Pluto and Charon. I just put here important information about the system is how the Charon mass is big. It's around 11% of Pluto mass. So you see here that this make study the system a little bit more complicated. So before we started to deal with Charon, such a massive body on the system, in this work we do an approximation. We call it the J2 effective. So we try to compensate the effect of the Charon on the orbits on the 4 other small satellites, trying to mimic it and put inside this potential. So it's approximation. So we just consider Pluto plus Charon as one body with a huge J2. So you can say like this is not perfectly, but we just did some test, and this is kind of better than do not do anything. That we do this because we want to see the orbital elements of the small moons, and when you need to transform from the X and V and the position and velocity of the small satellites to orbital elements, is important to try to put somehow the information that Charon is also doing something with the small satellites. So I performed some tests to check it, and here I was trying to put a particle in a circular orbit around 50,000 kilometers from Pluto, and when I do not use the G2, I have not so good orbit. It's far from what I really want, and also with bigger eccentricity variations and etc. So here is what I'm looking here is just a better orbital elements quality, and when I don't use this approximation, even it's not perfectly, it's worse when I trying to understand things, look into the orbital elements. So saying this, let's start it. Some resonance. So in 2013, Bouillet et al. Just found that the small satellites was nearby, but not necessarily into the motion resonance with Charon. Styx was near the 3-1, Nix to 4-1, Kerberos 5-1, and Hydra 6-1. And later in 2015, Showalter and Hamilton just found 2 relations between 3 satellites. The first one between Styx, Nix, and Kerberos, and then Styx, Nix, and Hydra. So there are 2 mean-motion resonance. The three body mean-motion resonance. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. Okay. So what I want to do in this work is try to understand how, figure out how these satellites went into this special configuration. So to show how Pluto's moons get into the current locations through, and to do this, we use resonances and tidal forces. Or we can understand this as we are trying to capture into the tree by resonance. So to do this, we use a real new system. It will be like the Laplace resonance at Jupiter. What happened there? You has a Mimas resonance with Europe, the 221, and then Europe has a resonance with Ganymedes, the 221 as well. And then because of these relations, the three Europa and Ganymedes are into the tree by resonance as a consequence of the 2-2 by resonance between each pair. So we use the same idea, the same path to see if it is possible this kind of mechanism have happened in the past for Pluto system as well. So how do we do this? We will focus on the only one of the three body resonance the Showalter and Hamilton founded, the 3-5G2 between Styx, Nix, and Hydra. Why? Because the coefficients are smaller, so they should be stronger and easier to deal with and work with. But what do you do? So the thing about the three-bar resonance is that we cannot capture into the eccentricities and inclinations. And that's how we can see and study captures into regular two-bar motion resonances. So that's a challenge. So there is an alternative way, the one that I just showed the example with the Laplace resonance. We use two-body resonance to get into the three-body resonance. So here I just wrote in a generic way. So the important thing here is to have the same term in eccentricity or inclination. So when you subtract the two-body angles, you have only the terms in longitudes. We cannot have any terms in eccentricity or inclination. So that's kind of the tricks. Not trick is mathematician, but that's it. So let's understand a little bit more about the scenario. So the first thing is I need to capture a small moon into a two-body resonance. And we need to repeat this and then get the three-body resonance. So what I do, I start with Charon migrating forward. I'm assuming Charon is migrating due to the tidal force of Pluto. So imagine in the past, everyone is kind of compact, and then things start to going forward. Charon in this case, and then Charon can capture a small moon into a resonance, and then this small moon, the moon A, will start to migrating outwards with Charon as well. And then I expect it to happen in a second capture here, but this time between the small moons, But at the same time, we can imagine this like a three-body resonance as well, because Charon is involved somehow. But we want to see a resonance between the moon A and B. And then the moon A will continues moving outward, and I expected one of the moons, the A or B, capture C. And then I will have the three-body resonance between the three small moons. It's a long path. I need a lot of things to happen. So here I'm trying to simplify the steps. So the first thing we need Chiron capturing small moon. So I tested, and for this I used that Bouyer result, the nearby Mimosha resonance between Chiron and then small moon. So here I tested for the 3-1, and it was successful with inclination. Also the 4-1, and here I was not specifying if it was Styx or Kerberos and Hydra. I'm not specifying that. I just testing for particles in the beginning, and then I just started with the real masses and continuous working. The fourth one, then 5 to 1 is a little bit harder to capture. That's because it's really weak. So I had to put some artificial forces, artificial eccentricity, so it to be to Charon to be able to capture. And also 6 to 1 was really harder, but that is not necessary. I'm just testing. So the result is then the 3 to 1, 4 to 1, 5 to 1 are possible, but the 3 to 1 is more successful. We can think more probably to have happened in the past. Charon captured one of these small satellites into the 3 to 1. So check this. We want in the second step a small moon captures another small moon. That's a little more difficult because we have Charon in the system, and Charon is such presence, is such massive body. Then the small moon is complicated, and the small moon you be strong enough to have this important play, like one small moon capture another small moon, even with Charon in this system. But it was possible. So here, what I see is the orbital elements, this semi-major axis, and centricity and inclination evaluation through time for Charon, Styx, and Hydra. So Charon is always migrating outwards, and Styx already started the simulation captured by Charon into the 3 to 1 resonance. And at some point, we can see here, when you look to semi-major axis of Hydra, is also start to growing up. That means then at some point, Hydra was captured by Styx or Charon. We hope Styx. And we can confirm this, calculating by hand the position of the resonance, the moment then Hydra was captured. And also we can see the effect on Styx eccentricity and Hydra. Of course, it was a eccentricity motion resonance with Hydra. And I also point out the 3 to 1 between Styx and Charon, just to we can see clearly. So between Charon and Styx is the 3 to 1 inclination resonance, and at some point Hydra was captured into a eccentricity. Sorry for I say the eccentricity, but inclination for Styx and eccentricity for Hydra with Styx at some point. So that's good. We had success to capture a small satellite in a resonance with other small resonance, small satellite, sorry. That's okay. So now we need the same thing to repeat, but it's a little bit more complex because it's not any mean-motion resonance, and we need more than this. We need two mean-motion resonance, special ones, the new result in the three-body resonance that I'm looking for, and also with the needs to happen with the right satellites. So here there are many possibilities because all these combinations will result in the resonance that I'm looking for, the 3 to 5 and to 2 between Styx, Nix, and Hydra. So all of these pairs, and actually they're infinite pairs. And here I'm just looking for the first order ones because they are stronger and more probable to have happened. And also, but still 4 pairs of resonance is too much to be tested and to be studied. So I had to find a way to select one of those. And to do this, I just plot the resonance map around these small satellites. So how it works, I would just do a zoom here. So here is Styx location, and I was just looking in which mean-motion resonance with all the other satellites are nearby Styx location. And here we can see, for example, 6 nearby to the 524 and 625 with Nix, and a little bit forward with Kerberos 322, and then far away to the 221 with Hydra. But we need 2 at the same time. So if you see here, the 524 and 221 are exactly numbers, coefficients that we are looking to result in the 3-body resonance. So that is a good sign. And I also analyzed and how far. So there are 2 things that we consider here. How far is the resonance for the satellite? And if there are other resonance between the resonance that I'm looking for, or that means if it was other resonance more nearby or closest to the satellite than the one that I need in here. The first pair is nearest to the satellite, and also there is no other intervening resonance, so no other resonance between the location of the satellite and the resonance that I really want to study. So that's why, for example, if you look the other pairs, they're more distant from the position that I want, and also sometimes there are other resonance among them. So that's not cool. So that's why we just choose the first pair to look at. I'm sorry. So the 2 special resonances appear here. So now we are looking only for the small satellites. This is Styx, Hydra, and Nix. I'm not putting the orbital elements for Charon here. And same major eccentricity. And for the last column, the 3rd column will be the resonance angles. Here is always the 2-body resonance, all these 3 angles I am testing. So what is interesting to see here? So first of all, for Styx, we can identify the 2-to-1 between Styx and Hydra, turn it on and then off, and on and then off a lot of times. That happens because it's a very dynamic region there. And also we have eccentricities going up and down. Here I'm applying external force to damp a little bit the eccentricity growing. It's important to emphasize here that I'm not dealing yet with real values. I'm just forcing things to learn what should happen to me to be able to capture these small satellites into resonances. So eccentricities will be bigger than the real ones, and then once I got the place then the satellite should be and the velocity, then the satellite should migrate, and then I will start go back to the real values. But okay, so here we see the 2-to-1 between Styx and Hydra, and we can see then there is eccentricity resonance and eccentricity resonance. And you can also see on the resonance angle here the time then it was on for a longer time actually. When you see the semi-major accents is easier because you know Styx is going out, and when something happens, Styx need to push other body with it. So the migration it still happens, but it would be slower. We can see here on the last column there are 2 resonance angles for the same 2-to-1 resonance between Hydra and Styx. One with Styx pericenter and the other one with Hydra pericenter. So in the first time, then capture happens will be in the Hydra pericenter, and then second time will be in the Styx pericenter. That's important because in the end of everything, we need to have the right terms in pericenter to have everything disappeared and result in the 3-body resonance. Sorry. Also, with Styx, we have the 5-1 also appears here between Styx and Nix. You can see it in the Styx semi-major axis evolution and also in the eccentricity as well. And in the last angle here, when you look for the resonance angle, you can see, for example, the last resonance the Styx is captured Nix, and it remain captured into the end of the simulation, into the 5-4, and we can check it also the resonance angle and see the capture happens and continuously into the end of the simulation. But before it was captured a little bit for a small period in the beginning of the simulation as well. Okay. So here is another simulation. We can see Styx and Hydra are, since the beginning of the simulation, captured interresonance, and now you are trying to capture the second small satellite Nix in this case, and that's really difficult for any reasons. One of these is the mass of the satellite that I'm trying to capture. The other one is so small that it's not so easy. And of course, Karen is always trying and make provoking a lot of change into the orbital elements of the small satellites. So here we are seeing the tentative is trying to capture Nix, but somehow something happened and we were able to capture Nix with Hydra. We can see the Hydra eccentricity starts going down and Nix eccentricity is going to go up. So it means then a capture will have happened there. So let's look at this. There's two resonance angles. The first one, the 2-1, between Hydra and Styx, and here was Hydra pericenter. So it's captured almost the whole simulation, sorry. And then 5-4, just during time here, not the whole simulation. But what's important here, the two happen at the same time, in the same periods for a part of the simulation, but it was not, but it not resulted in the 3 resonance that we are looking for, because the pericenter term here, one is Hydra and the other one is Styx. So I need both to be Hydra, both to be Styx, sorry. So I can just result in the 3-1 with no pericenter at all into the resonance angle. So that was the farthest then we got. I think it is important to say then that is farther than we have seen right now. It's not easy to capture small moons with such massive data as Chiron in the system. Like deal with a binary system is hard to try to understand then the orbits of the small satellites. So what we need to do now is establish the 3-5-2 that the 3-bar resonance, because right now when you got into a 3-bar resonance is not exactly what the one that we are looking for. We still have some pericenters appearing and we cannot have it, but there are many variables here. For example, when I start a simulation, I put everyone in a special place. So you take not too much time to Karen to be able to capture Styx, and then Styx to capture Hydra, and etc. But if I change a little bit the small satellite or the position of the small satellites, so everything will be different, because Styx, for example, if Styx spend more time captured by Charon, its eccentricity will be bigger if it spend less time captured by Charon. So if I change it, I will change the eccentricity of the Styx. At the time, the Styx will try to capture a small satellite, the other small satellites. So the result will be different. So, and also the external force to damp this eccentricity as well. The magnitude of it, I can change it because we do not have a clue. I mean, we have now, we know, we have learned some things with these simulations. Then eccentricity is necessary. That's an interesting result because the other result then try to see this scenario. We expected the eccentricity to turn everything more difficult and not able to capture, but in this time, and that actually agrees with Gallardo, forgot the year work. They say then some eccentricity, not some, a kind of a little, not so small eccentricity can actually turn everything, be able to capture small satellites. So that's it. We still need to find the two body resonance have activated at the same time, and we expect to see the three body when it happens. We have seen other three body resonances here. It's just some a theme to be studied, and how important are these three body resonances when you have some terms in eccentricity or inclination. We don't know yet. And then when you have the one that you're looking for, the other thing that you need to do is turn off the two body resonance. Then we need to go into the three body resonance. So we need those to get into the three body, and then we need also turn off, because nowadays no one is there are no evidence for that two body resonance between the satellites Styx and Nix and Styx and Hydra. And that's it. I think I just talked too fast. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Thamiris. Thank you very much. Okay, the floor is open for questions now. Maybe I can start with maybe a very simple question. I'm not sure. So if I understand correctly, what drives everything is the outward movement of Charon to start with. This is what triggers everything. But how well constrained is this outward movement of Charon? What do you need to make some assumptions, or is it well known, or what are the uncertainties there?
So we assume the Carolyn-Purcell theory, then Canopy theory, then Charon was a result of an impact with another body with Pluto. So that's an assumption. Then that will result in then Charon in the beginning was migrating outwards because Pluto's tidal forces. I'm not simulating the beginning of the system here, the formation of Charon and etc. I'm just assuming the Charon and the small satellites. My theory was result from this impact.
Okay.
And just start from that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Mm. Well, I have a more specific question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a follow-up of Philippe's question. Is this migration speed of Charon due to tidal effects, is it a critical parameter? I mean, more precisely, is a general scenario really depends on the migration velocity? And if yes, does the general picture we have now dependent on the tidal effects in Pluto? So could it be a constraint to the tidal history of Chiron, or any scenario will gives us the same result? Can you say something about the tidal effects? I mean, I'm not talking now because it's maybe a longer term project, but you foresee, you predict that at some point, what we observe now is critically dependent on how Chiron migrated and at what speed, for instance.
Yes, I mean, I just tested like different magnitudes of velocity for the Chiron's migration. So I'm not concerned right now in the velocity because, as I say, I just trying to get one of the three body resonance that I want, and then I will start to normalizing everything and trying to go back to the more reasonable values for everything. So I was changing the magnitude of the current migration during the simulation, during the test. And I believe that once and then it got the results, so this will imply some migration velocity for Chiron, of course, because when I changed that, I changed the scenario. So when I found a scenario, then the three body resonance will be able to be active. So I can just not conclude, because of course I need to study more in details in the beginning of everything. I'm not doing this kind of study. I mean, it's not a formation study, but yeah, I mean, that means that probably that velocity means something. If you see right now the three body resonance activate nowadays, and we know that migration velocity allowed this to happen. So yeah, I believe that somehow we can do some put some limits and maybe an interval for the current migration.
And the other question was, one of the satellites, I think it was Styx, that's in one of your slides, you show a very high inclination.
Yes.
Which is not observed. So can you comment on that?
Yes. As I said before, the values are far from reality right now, because I need to see things happen. So I just leave the simulation on for a period, and just to check when something will happen, when Styx will capture an Hydra, and then learn from that. So with that moment and with that eccentricity, I mean, it's not valid if I found a crazy eccentricity. That's why I also put some external force to dampen eccentricity at the same time. But it's hard to control that. I'm just in the beginning was worse, and now I'm just okay. I know right now I can't validate anything from that, and then I just change a little bit, put the external force with a stronger external force. But also this external force is another thing. I mean, because the magnitude, all these magnitude problems, we should check it. That's for true. I mean, I just want some clues with where and in which moment and which pairs was able to capture the other one, and then when I have some things, I can just kind of do a zoom, a period zoom, and understand everything with more details and go back and then other things. For example, in the beginning, I put more massive for the small satellites, so just to be able to see capture happens, and then adjusting these with velocities and going back to the real masses. So these results, I have all the satellites with real masses, but it was something that I learned to put not real ones in that place.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any further questions?
Maybe I can ask a question of, I'm not an expert, but Do we still have some migration of Charon, or was the most important part of the migration taking place maybe before Charon was locked with Pluto in both in rotation and in orbit?
I'm sorry, can you repeat? Is about the migration of Charon?
About the migration of Charon. I mean, in history, was it faster at some point before it was locked with Pluto, or now it's locked with Pluto both in rotation and in orbit? It has same orbital. I guess the migration was faster before this lock happened, but I just wonder if there is still migration, and in your code you assume that migration can still happen millions of years after the formation of Charon, or was it something that happened early in the history of?
So the migration is you change things and it will be important, but at the same time, it's not, because it's I have some simulations that are really fast migration happens, but you can imagine then I want to see everything happens in a short period of time. Okay. So I want things happen faster. So Charon is migrating fast and everything is going fast, and that is a relation between this. Then I can just see the scenario and then put, and it will be the same thing but takes more time. So that's something interesting as well. So it's not real if Charon is migrated too fast, but at the same time I can find a scenario. It just understand then the same things will happen, but just in a bigger time. So it's important. The migration, it is important, of course, but how fast and slow is that? Not necessarily, because I'm also looking at things way fast, and then actually it's supposed to have happened in the past, and that is a relation. Then we can calculate it, and so if I go a little faster, how things will be, you'll be also accelerated from the real thing. So I'm not, if I just say confused, but the thing is I can just accelerate everything and see things happen faster, and then just compensate and calculate it. The same thing will happen in much more time, because Charon will be migrating slowly. So the dynamic, the captures and everything is still it is still valid to find this even in a faster scenario, because there are a compensation. It did not mean that these things will not happen in the real one as well, just that these things will just take more time to happen.
Okay.
Step. Okay.
Okay, further questions? No. If no further questions, then thank you again, Thamiris, for this presentation. Thank you very much. And je vais retourner en français pour la fin. Donc, je vous remercie tous. Je vous donne à tous rendez-vous la semaine prochaine. Il y aura à nouveau un Théminaire de l'équipe de Bruno. Ce sera sur Triton, je crois, cette fois-ci. Et en attendant, écoutez, portez-vous bien et puis passez tous une bonne semaine. Merci.
Merci, bye bye.